Hello everybody, I'm Arctica, the fox behind the creation of the album Sing for the Void. In celebration of the album coming out today, I wanted to make a video talking about the album, so I took to Instagram, Discord, Twitter, and YouTube to ask you all for some questions. Not all of them are album specific, but I'll be answering them from the perspective of my experience so far with producing this album. So let's jump right into it. Also, I apologize in advance if I mispronounce your usernames. Jimina asks, were there any struggles you had to deal with during the production of the song? Funny you should ask that, because I actually posted a bunch of updates to Twitter and Instagram complaining about retakes and glitches. My dad has some pretty advanced equipment for his recording studio, so it's supposed to record the best sound possible. But between the long wires and a decade-old iMac, we had to deal with so many audio glitches. I'd also have some off days where my performance just wasn't there. So the song that gave us the most trouble was actually Buttered Toast, which is, oddly enough, the second song that came out. We had to re-record that song like half a dozen times, but eventually we got a final take, we nailed it, and it was released. So I'm pretty happy about how that turned out. Dan JB asks, lyrically speaking, which one of your songs from this album is your favorite? And music-wise, which one was the most fun to make? Now, this one's a bit harder because I make sure all the lyrics I write for my songs are my favorite, if that makes any sense. But if I had to pick one, I'd say it's probably between Buttered Toast and Sing for the Void. Buttered Toast I mainly like because it's such a weird random song title, but when you listen to the lyrics and kind of put everything in context, it kind of makes some cohesive sense. It's basically just trying to describe in a really unconventional way of how isolating and depressing quarantine was at the heart of it. I don't know, personally I just really like the execution of those lyrics. For Sing for the Void, I really like the last section of the lyrics where I describe the 4 other songs in the album and transition into kind of the overall description of the last song and by proxy the album as a whole. Now, music-wise, Sing for the Void was the most fun to make because I actually came up with the harmonies on the spot while I was recording. I think I spent about 40 minutes really trying to get the harmonies right until we finally got the harmony that we have today. And it's also just a fun song to play because it's got different finger pickings and strumming patterns. I don't know, I guess musically that was the most fun one to write because it was also musically the most diverse one to write. RxTari asked me 3 questions over on Instagram. Which instruments can you play? How long does it take for you to write a song? And who are your inspirations for both songwriting and drawing? Now, there's a difference between what can I play and what do I play. I can play the drums, but I only know how to play 1 beat. I mean, whole body coordination is really hard. I can also in theory play the ukulele, but I think I've only ever tried once in middle school. I've also played the recorder and ocarina before, but only 1 or 2 songs. Other than that, some instruments I actually do play are the clarinet and guitar. Oh, and also Mr. NXT also asked a similar question, how long it takes to write a song. It kind of depends, honestly. Sometimes I can crank it out in 1 session, usually under 2 hours, but sometimes I have to let it breathe for a bit. And then, make some changes later on, which could add up to a little under 3 hours, I'd say, spread over the course of a few days. But as time goes on, and as I revisit the song a few weeks later, a few months down the road even, I might make some more changes that flow better with the vibe I'm going for, maybe add complexities, make it simpler, change the strumming, etc. Who my inspirations are is actually an interesting one, because this kind of goes hand in hand with both music and art. I have a lot of inspirations, but when you look at what I do, it's a fairly distinct style on its own. At least I'd like to think it is. Because my music taste is all over the freaking place, I'll just name a few artists and bands I was listening to a lot of at the time. Muse, Radiohead, Wilbur Soot, My Chemical Romance, Green Day, Imagine Dragons, Panic at the Disco, Glass Animals, Adam Lambert, 21 Pilots, Blink-182, Lemon Demon, and a bunch of other random stuff, mainly hyperpop and PC music. So yeah, very different stuff to what I write, but the main essence of singing about your feelings and experiences to connect with others is my main inspiration. For art, I really like Finchwing, Jaden Animations, Sadist, Chipflake, Zillion, Blake Rosie, Bill Watterson, Terenri, Elmira, Riko Sakari, Crumb, and Crustery. Understandably, most of them are furry artists or artists who can draw like and their animals really well. Matthew asks, when you write your music, do you write the lyrics or the instrumental first? So a bit about the order in which I write songs in. I guess it's kind of both at the same time, but if we really want to get specific here, probably the instrumental comes first-ish. I always start with the bass chords first. Usually it ends up being the chords for the chorus of the song. Then I ad-lib a melody with some words over it, and I essentially wash and repeat and edit things around until I have a final finished product. I tend to write the chorus first, then the verses or pre-chorus next, then anything extra if I'm planning on, a bridge, intro, or an outro. Bench22er asks, will you ever do a duet with someone? Funny you should ask that, because I actually wanted In Your Reign to be a separate duet with someone else. But then I thought about it, and it just wasn't too practical, and it just felt kind of out of place if I had like another random voice appear in a song for an album that's like just my music and like you just never heard from them again. But in the future I would totally be down for doing a duet. Sir Wiz asks, what inspired you to do music, and was there anyone that helped you learn, or did you teach yourself? Like I mentioned before, just listening to other people's music is really inspiring, enough to make me want to make music on my own. Both top chart celebrities and smaller artists making music on YouTube for fun. In terms of how I learned to write music, it was pretty much completely self-taught. My dad plays guitar and he did write one song on the guitar, but he never told me how he did it. Plus it was just like an instrumental song, so it's kind of different from writing a song that's got, singing in it. I kind of just break down and observe how other people write music and kind of apply those concepts into my own music writing. So functionally speaking, it looks like I know what I'm doing, but technically, I got no clue. Azar Lupin asks, do you feel like your music represents you? Very much so, yes. Although I'd say I'm usually a bit more happy-go-lucky in real life than my more emotionally deeper songs suggest. Because I write about my experiences, my music tends to represent my inner world that I would usually, keep to myself. So I guess you get a bit more than you usually see. Gotta7 asks, how would you describe your genre of music? This is actually a really good question that I don't even really know the answer to myself. Honestly, the best category to put this in would be singer-songwriter. I was tempted to call it bedroom pop since it's structured very similar to most pop and alt-rock songs, but most of those songs require a lot more instruments that's not just, my voice and an acoustic guitar. I honestly don't really know if my music fits in a specific genre. I guess, the most broad one would just be singer-songwriter, because I am a singer and I did write the songs myself, but then again, that's like most people out there too. So yeah, help me, because I'm having a music genre identity crisis. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe there's a genre I'm just not aware of. Star Snow Leopard asks, do you have any tips for people wanting to write/produce music? I will say the best way to learn is by way of imitation. Not blatant copying, but rather picking apart existing music from genres you enjoy and seeing how they write music, how they use their chords, how their melody flows on top of that, what they write about, how they write, the rhythm of all of the lyrics and the music feels, the layers of instruments they have, how they structure the song to make it feel fluid and cohesive. So for example, when I write songs, I like to take listeners on an emotional journey, because a lot of the music I listen to have these really deep emotional meanings and like connections in them. I like to try and imitate that by implementing a song structure that allows for a gradual build-up to a climax. For example, in Sing for the Void, I start with finger-picking patterns that slowly transition into strumming. At the end, I build everything up with vocal harmonies, then split it up so I'm singing two different things at once. Really fill up your head. Then strip it all back down to finger picking again, and you kind of calm down from like that high. You'll recognize I use this pattern in like almost all of my songs on this album. It's also probably just the most common songwriting structure out there. In terms of production, I'm not as well versed in mixing and mastering since my dad does that kind of stuff for me. Like, he has all the software, he knows how to use it, but I like to think that I've learned a bit of the basic concepts from seeing him work, and like helping him listen to the tracks and adjust the levels so it sounds right. My dad has actually improved his mixing a lot throughout the album. If you listen to the first song, Ain't the Kinda Lovin' I Do, it sounds a bit too muffled and muddy and not really bright and clear, compared to the mixing on the last song, Sing for the Void, where the mixing of the harmonies and the voice against the guitar is really tight. But we did decide to remaster Ain't the Kinda Lovin' I Do for the album, and he did a really great job with that. So usually people who write music don't mix their own music. I send it to another person who's like really experienced to like, mix it all together. But having said that, a lot of people do both as well. The benefit of sending it to someone else is that you get a new set of ears to listen to the music and catch details you might miss or overlook. Also, you're gonna be sending it to like a professional who like knows how to mix music to best fit your voice and style just by listening to it. So I guess the most important thing is just to have a lot of people listen to your music. They can actually provide some like good insight, especially if you send it to other people who also write music. Melanie Apple asks, what has been your favorite part of this whole process of making the album? I honestly don't really know, since I really enjoyed all the different aspects of it. I really like writing music, especially when I'm in the right zone or headspace to do it. It's just satisfying and cathartic to be able to convey my emotions onto music. Plus, it's fun coming up with different melodies and rhythms, the rhyming, the wording, kind of structuring the whole thing. Recording can also be fun, especially when I'm just, hanging out with my dad in the studio. Joking around, just being able to play the music while he manages all the recording, so I'm just focusing on my performance. But sometimes if I'm not feeling it, I can get really frustrated, but usually then I take a break and maybe come back later that day or the next day to re-record. Mixing is where everything kind of finally comes together. Listening to the same song over and over again has the potential to make you sick of your own song, but once you get the final mix, it is still very rewarding. Doing the artwork and video editing is also really fun because I just enjoy drawing and video editing in general. I don't know, something about it is just fun. But I also like the aspect of being able to kind of visually represent my songs, whether it be through drawing the art or editing the way the lyrics appear on screen. Enhance the listening experience for people who are visually oriented. Publishing and promoting is also kind of fun. Writing the video descriptions, posting about it on my socials, and like pasting my music links everywhere. It's a bit awkward sometimes when I try to promote my stuff, but I try not to think about it too much. Oh yeah, and the photo shoot for the album cover was also really fun to do. I got to walk down my neighborhood street playing the guitar and singing while walking. Big shout out to my mom as well, those photos turned out amazing. She's a really talented photographer, and honestly, photographers don't get enough credit for the work sometimes. Same goes with the mixers and masters. So a big shout out and thank you to both of my parents for being so supportive of me during this entire journey, helping me not only produce the song in the highest quality possible, but also helping with the marketing side of things. And of course, a big thank you to you guys as well for supporting my song. I really hope you guys will continue to listen to these songs months after the release. Feel free to share it with your friends as well. Kind of the whole purpose of me publishing this album is to hopefully inspire others to put themselves out there. To not be afraid to express yourself through your art and craft. Throw your voice out there into the void. Sing for the void. Because the secret of the void is that you never know if you're truly alone if you don't reach out. If you guys enjoy the album, once again, the links to the album and my other platforms will be down in the description for y'all to check out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Infinite love and gratitude. Ciao!